when you're being the bigger person, it doesn't mean that you deserve to be disrespected, right? So it's like you're trying to make things right. You may have done something wrong where you weren't perfect, and then now you're trying to get things together, and then now she feels that she can just say whatever she wants, whenever she wants, how she wants to, and like, no, that ain't happening, bro. Like, I still deserve respect in my house. All right, fellas. So, what do you do when being the mature adult in your relationship starts to make you feel like you're being played? You know what I mean? Like, it's difficult trying to keep it together all the time, and you just wish that your wife would be the one who's willing to step her game up sometimes. But the part that's crazy is that she actually thinks that she does. So this is when things can get like kind of crazy because you're doing your best just not to argue. You're keeping your mouth shut. You're listening. You're keeping your feelings in check and all these different things at all these different times. And don't get me wrong, it's good to learn how to do it. But I believe that there's a right way and a wrong way to handle these things. And so, like, that's what I really want to talk about today. But before I get into all that, I want to read this scripture from Ecclesiastes 3:7 because I think it will help to understand what I mean about good, bad, and just timing, right? So this is from the New Living Translation, the NLT, and it says, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be quiet and a time to speak. All right. So there is a time to speak and there is a time to be quiet. There's a time to tear and there's a time to mend. It's all about timing. Okay. So I really believe that in this season, the time that you really know is if you've taken on that emotional labor from your wife, meaning now you've invested more time into her issues than she's invested time into it because she's sharing with you, talking about all these different things, and she's arguing with you about this. And then now you've allowed that to like wear you down, make you feel some type of way. That's when it's time to speak up. And if you have not taken the time to speak up because you believe that being quiet in this season or whatever the case it is like the right thing to do, you're going to burn yourself out. So that's what I want to talk about today. All right. So like, comment, subscribe, and we'll jump right into it because we ain't got no time to waste. All right. So again, got my notes here. Got this nice little yellow notebook, which I use for all my notes. And I just believe it's been very helpful in general. So if you guys don't take notes, I would encourage you to do that. I'm telling you now, take notes. It helps to remember, to retain that information just by writing something down in your own words. And it's easier to remember what the person said, right? So if you really are looking to grow, take some notes. But anyways, here are some like simple signs that you'll be able to recognize, like if this has been the case for you, right? Like you've taken on more of that emotional labor. Number one, you feel like you're carrying the whole load. And you know what I'm saying? You know that feeling where it feels like you're doing everything. You're doing it all. You're trying to keep everything right, attitude right, do this, do that. She wants you to do this, you do those things too. And then on top of that, it's still not enough, right? At the point in time, it's like, man, what else? What else do I have to do? Like, when are you gonna actually step up to the plate and elevate your game in this area? Why am I always trying to be the one to grow and get better and do all these things, right? So we know this isn't a healthy thing. And like, you really have to think about this because you guys are in this together, right? You guys are both in this together. You tied the knot, put that ring on your finger like I did. So now recognizing that if you're carrying the load by yourself, that's going to be extremely difficult because the weight is off, right? So let's think about a barbell at the gym. You're doing the bench press or something. You have a 45-pound weight on one side and you got a 10-pound weight on another side. That's going to be very interesting because one arm is going to put in a lot more work than the other arm is by default, right? Because if you try to lift at the 10 on the 10 weight, on the 10-pound weight, and try to lift it the same weight as you would on the 45 is not going to lift. The 10 is going to shoot up. The 45 is going to drop down. And that's the unbalanced weight. These are the areas where you need to talk about these things in your home, because if you're not talking about it, you already have an unbalanced weight, and it can be very difficult to lift that by yourself if you don't say anything, right? So again, time to be quiet and time to speak, but you really got to know the levels in which that is. If you've never done it before, again, pay attention. How are you dealing emotionally with all the stuff that's being said? And that's when you start to really pay attention. So I would take this time and really understand, like, if you're going to speak to her, let her know how you feel. Like, man, I'm kind of drained, like I'm drained because I feel like I'm carrying all this weight and I would like to have this thing balanced out a little bit better. So How does that look? I mean, it can look so many different ways, but you got to be honest about it. Number one, you got to be honest in this area. You got to be real about this part of your life because you know you don't have to take on all that weight. You know that you don't have to do all these things by yourself. But if you're choosing not to say anything because you're scared or something like that, well, that's on you. You're going to hurt and it's going to be freaking difficult because you're going to be pissed off at yourself later for not saying something when you had all the time to do it in the world, but you thought you was too big, thought you was a tough dog, and then now you're sitting over here hurting, had a broken relationship because you did not know how to communicate. And these are the times where it's like you really have to talk to your spouse. Don't accuse her of things that's being done. Just talk. Be real. Like let her know what's going on and just try to be a team. Like try to put it together. Try to actually have a conversation with your wife as a team, just like a basketball team would or football team. You guys are in the same huddle, right? You're not trying to figure out how to defeat the offense if you're on offense. You're trying to figure out how to make the offense score a touchdown, right? One can't be on offense, one can't be on defense. As soon as you do that, you're going against each other. And you guys know that term, right? This is football. And even if it was basketball, it's still the same thing. If one's on offense, one's on defense, defense is trying to stop the offense. Offense is trying to beat the defense. That's what it comes down to. Also, another way of looking at, a sign that this is happening is it's turned into enabling. And we have allowed that to happen a lot, where we have allowed our spouses to be enabled to do the things that they do now. This is a scary part because when you're being the bigger person, it doesn't mean that you deserve to be disrespected, right? So it's like you're trying to make things right. You may have done something wrong where you weren't perfect, and then now you're trying to get things together, and then now she feels that she can just say whatever she wants, whenever she wants, how she wants to. And like, no, that ain't happening, bro. Like, I still deserve respect in my house. Like, because she deserves respect. So it's not for anything else. If you guys choose to stay married, you guys both owe it to each other to respect each other at the end of the day. That's just the way it kind of goes. Let her know that you're trying to keep the peace. And that because of that, it has cost you your own voice. You know what I mean? Like, because you've kept your mouth shut, because you've sat back and listened, you haven't spoken, it's allowed you to now get to a place where you see enablement in her, and it's caused you to be a little bit quieter because now you're just like, man, hopefully she'll snap out of it. Hopefully she'll get it together. And she might, but sometimes through your words, she might get it together, but it all comes down to how you say those things too. If you're going to go at her and you already know, like, doing it in a way where you're extremely emotional, it's probably not going to work. Don't be stupid in doing it that way. Be smart in how you communicate so that you can get your point across, which you might listen. Keep your attitude right. And then you just don't want either, because in this part, you don't want either of you guys to feel that one is being like silenced in their conversation or overpowered. You know what I mean? Like, if your wife feels that she has to say something, it's okay for her to say something, but you're hoping that she does it in a certain way that allows her the freedom to speak. Just like you want to be able to have the freedom to speak too, but there's been times where it's just not the case. But you can't be a silenced man, and you can't feel like you're being overpowered by your wife. Most likely you're bigger than your wife, but your voice is being overpowered by hers in so many ways because you haven't taken the time to like figure out how to speak and communicate with her, right? Because in your mind, you're being the bigger person, right, by not saying anything. But that doesn't always mean that you're being the bigger person. Sometimes you're just not saying anything because you're enabling her. If you're not saying anything, sometimes you can be enabling her. That's why you got to really understand the timing, right? If hidden resentment starts to come up from this, and this is hard. This is why marriages end up falling apart, because of that hidden resentment that happens over years of conversation. Sorry, years of just things that you may have said in the beginning, then you stopped talking about it because you just felt it was easier. Like, resentment will be created. You will not like her for who she is anymore. You will not like yourself for being so quiet. So the part that's crazy about this is that it can literally be resentment towards both of you guys. It's going to be resentment towards her for sure. But you're going to resent yourself for not saying anything. And so it's like, your desire is to not grow bitter, right? You don't want to be all extra bitter. And even though it's like not comfortable, you still know at the end of the day, it's better to have that conversation together than to drift away. And if that's what your goal is, to drift away, then move on. Like, why are you wasting your time in your marriage for her or for yourself? That's just dumb. Don't wait around if you're not willing to talk. If you're going to keep your mouth shut, then what is the point of you being married? What is the point of you being in a relationship if you're not going to be willing to take the time to work on this stuff? If you're literally going to sit there quiet, you're wasting time. And that's the last thing you want to do. You think she's wasting time, but you'll be wasting just as much time if you don't take this into consideration. If you know that you're being the bigger person by not saying anything, okay, that's cool. That's a start. But you just got to know when to do it. And all these things, if you've had resentment, you've had it turn into enabling, you're carrying the whole load and you're still not saying anything, all right, now it's time that you have to do something, okay? You're going to hurt yourself, and most likely you already have. You've done it somewhere. You know that you've compromised something somewhere by not speaking. And so I'm telling you now, this is very important, because not only is it going to be helpful for both of you guys, but it's going to allow you to be vulnerable. You're going to open up in a way that's going to be helpful, right? Now, we spoke about in another video before, when these opportunities you can. If it's a 1 to 6 on the level, the scale of, issues that you're dealing with, you can handle that, the 1 to 6. But on a 7 to 10, say something. Speak to your wife about it. Tell her what's going on, because y'all are one now. So it would make no sense for you to sit back quietly and not deal with those issues. And again, for me, I think it's so important to remember the scripture, Ecclesiastes 3:7, a time to be quiet and a time to speak. I'm not going to go through all of it. I mean, it's not like it's much, but there is a time to be quiet and there is a time to speak. Know the difference between it. So again, I've given you some tools here, some opportunities to really understand. Are you feeling like you're carrying the whole load? Say something. Do you feel like it's turned into enabling? Say something. Do you have any hidden resentment? Say something. But don't allow your feelings and your emotions to control how you say it. Still, keep that thing smooth. Keep that thing peaceful, because your point will not get across if you have an attitude behind it. You only create a bigger problem on your hands. Now there'll be more resentment. So I got one more scripture here and I want to read it to you. It's from Galatians 6:9 from the Passion Translation. And it says, "Don't allow yourselves to be weary in planting good seeds. For the season of reaping the wonderful harvest you've planted is coming." So again, keep planting those good seeds. Share with your wife what you're dealing with. Talk about those things. Find a plan and what you can do to come up together so that the weights are balanced again. So even if it's not 45, it might be 45-35, right? Because she may not be able to carry the whole thing and you're carrying it now. But as long as you get that weight more balanced, so it's not completely off, where your muscles can still be developed correctly and it's getting better, that's okay. Because eventually it might be balanced out where it's 45-45 and you guys can stack on more weight together. But in the meantime, it's just getting more balance for yourself, so you have no more hidden resentment, so you're not feeling like you're carrying the whole load. And last one, that you're not enabling her by not saying anything. So let me know your thoughts. All right. I love you guys. I think this information can be very helpful for you. You tell me what you get from it. Is there anything that you saw, anything that you heard, anything you took away from it that you believe can be helpful? If so, like, comment, subscribe. And as always, we'll talk soon. See ya.